Good noon, all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everybody. So, I welcome you to this session MA at CET ParaJumbles Decoded. Right? So, today our focus will be exclusively on ParaJumbles. Why? You can pick up your past year papers and you'll get to know that sometimes around 6 to 7 questions in your VARC section come from ParaJumbles. So, of course, that's like an RC passage, right? If some question of parajumble or a question type is getting about 5 to 6 questions, then that's like a set itself, like an RC set itself. Good afternoon, Krishna, Dharmi, Sameer, Achal, good noon. Hello, Anuja. Okay, so that's why they are important, and MAHCET is known for asking some different types of parajumbles, right? So we'll look at all those types of parajumbles. Having said that, if I talk about the last year, there you got your normal parajumbles, 5 sentence or 6 sentence with options. So there you had those normal parajumbles that you might have prepared for your other non-CAT exams as well. Okay, but before that, before coming to those usual normal parajumbles, let's look at what we say as the unique MAHCET parajumble type. Let's look at that first, right? So let's begin. Good afternoon, roosters. Right. So first of all, before I let's say launch into a question, some tips for you. How can you solve MCQ parajumbles faster, right? When you are given options and you have a parajumble, let's say 5 sentence, 6 sentence, it could be any number of sentences. Usually, I think I've seen at the most 7 in your MHCET exam, right? So how do you solve them faster? What all can help? First things first, because there are options, you should make use of the options. I'm not saying that solve entirely through options. That's a very lengthy way to go about a question. Okay. Just look at, okay, let's say out of these 5 options, 3 of them have A as the opening sentence, while 2 of them have B as the opening sentence. Then that's your clue right there that, okay, either A or B is the opening sentence. So, in such a smart way, just glance at the options once before you begin solving. Right? They might provide some clue, they might not. Then read the first few words of all the sentences. So it's called vertically scanning your parajumble question. So when you read the first few words, sometimes they hold big clues, right? For instance, they can have words like but, as a result, however, moreover, further. So these transition words sometimes can be present right at the beginning of a sentence, and they can actually help you in linking the sentence to some other sentence, right? So always go for a vertical scan. I'm not saying that don't read the entire thing, don't read all the sentences. You'll have to do that ultimately. If you want to be sure of your sequence, you'll have to read all the sentences. But yes, this vertical scan you can go for in the beginning so that you understand that, okay, this sentence appears to be related to some other sentence. Let me find out that other sentence. Okay. Hunt for clues. So any parajumble question is full of clues. Let me tell you that. Right. These clues, because there are multiple types of clues. There could be grammar based clues, right? There could be theme based clues or structure based clues, right? So theme based clues, structure based clues, right? So look for such clues, right? Grammar transition words, I call them conjunctions, so they come under grammar for me, right? Noun pronoun relationship, again grammar. Articles, the, again grammar. Tenses, relationship, past, present, future, grammar based clues. Theme based. If I mention, let's say, something in the first sentence, let's say I use the word let's say I say uh, okay, actually the example that's coming to my mind is your question itself. Wait, let me think of something else. So yes, let's say I talk about a pen stand in my first sentence. Okay, then in my, let's say, sentence C, the third sentence, I talk about its make. Let's say made of steel and some plastic. So you understand that, okay, I am talking about the make of this pen stand only. I am elaborating about this pen stand right now. So this is a theme based clue. Yes, I am elaborating on the topic that I introduced earlier. So pay attention to such clues. And finally, structure-based clues, right? So structure is slightly related to your transition words also. Structure could talk about sequencing, right? Structure could be about, let's say, first introducing a problem, then giving it solution. Structure could be about first talking about a person, then comparing and contrasting him with another person. So such structure-based clues could also be present in your ParaJumble. So pay attention to all these types of clues, right? So a warm good afternoon to all of you who have just joined, right? Ashish, Sailor, Sweetie, Rajiv, Laden, Ayush, right? Good afternoon. Now, uh, after you've hunted for clues, of course, you'll begin linking the various sentences. Let's say you've linked two sentences, so and you think that these two belong together, right? Nothing can come in between them. Then that's what we call a mandatory pair. This is what is called a mandatory pair. So once you find one mandatory pair, let's say you realize that okay, 1 and 3 is a mandatory pair. Then look at your options. If you feel AC is a mandatory pair, look at your options. Maybe uh, two of them, in fact, they don't mention AC as the mandatory pair. And if you're confident about this, you have eliminated two options right there. So keep on eliminating as you go. Okay. See, sometimes your options might help you in spotting the opening sentence. At other times, it could be pretty obvious. Let's say in the nature of a definition, or in the nature of an introduction, in the nature of a general sentence, wherein the other sentences are specific and talking about this general sentence only. So, in case it's obvious, see if you can spot them. If it's not obvious, don't be stubborn about finding the opening and closing sentences. Okay. And lastly, find multiple pairs or orders. Basically, by multiple, I mean as many as necessary. You don't have to waste your time unnecessarily. Let's say after finding AC, if there is only one option that says AC and I am sure about it, I should just mark it and proceed and just check the sequence once, right? Read the ParaJumble in that order. That's the most that I should do. So keep eliminating as you go. Very, very important. I hope everybody has understood this. Any queries you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll proceed. So first of all, when we look at a question, we'll glance at the options. We'll go for a vertical scan. We'll spot as many clues as we can. We'll see if we can find the opening and closing sentences. Sometimes they are pretty obvious. And after making one or two mandatory pairs, we'll go and eliminate. Okay. So here's a question for you, right? There are 7 sentences here. Now the good thing is that the first and the last one are fixed. The first and the last statements are fixed. You have to arrange the middle 5s. Okay. About must topics to be done in the verbal section at the end of the session. Okay, Anand, sure. Okay, so the first and the last sentences are fixed. So now take their help also. Okay, so the first sentence usually introduces the issue. In our representations of the world, especially in physics, mathematical infinities plays a crucial role. Okay, this has to be highlighted. It didn't appear highlighted, but it was supposed to be. Right. So, fine, I am talking about mathematical infinities, all right. Then, if you look at the last sentence, it says for, if such is the case, that means I've discussed something earlier. If such is the case, the latter geometry can easily be replaced by a discrete version in any physical theory that makes use of this particular mathematical background. So in the first one, I'm talking about mathematical infinities. I've understood that. In the last one, I'm talking about some type of geometry, right? Now, this is your question. These are your sentences. How is your unique MAHCET question type going to look like? Let me show you that once. So I've written question 6 here because in the original order, this was the 6th question. But you should attempt this first, in my opinion, because this is a grammar question. So even if, let's say, the ParaJumble appears difficult to you, this is a fill in the blank based on grammar, you should just attempt at least this one, right? So that's why I made it the first question. Then this was the 5th question in the order, but in my opinion, again, the next thing that you should do is form a sequence, right? The next thing should be forming a sequence. If options are given to you, nothing like it, right? Then come the other question types. Okay. So what is a for statement after rearrangement? What is the sixth statement after rearrangement? Then what remains in the initial place even after rearrangement? So once you arrange the entire thing, all these questions would be sorted. So in the past, MHCT has asked parajumble questions like this. It gives a set wherein you just have to arrange one paragraph. You have to rearrange one paragraph, and then based on just this one paragraph, there are multiple questions. Right? So wanted to show this to you. And these questions can also be grammar questions. These questions, some of these questions can also be vocabulary questions. So for instance, I just showed you a fill in the blank. Here there's a grammar question. So it's a mixed bag. Okay, and that's why I recommend that at least attempt the grammar questions, the vocabulary questions based on a parajumble if you're not attempting the parajumble itself, if you find the parajumble itself difficult. Okay? I hope everybody is with me. Okay, so I have got some responses also. Let's see. Uh, which one of the, so let's look at the sixth question first, right? We will solve the parajumble also, but let's first look at the sixth question, right? It seems interesting and easy. Which one of the following phrases can fill the blank in statement F? Okay, so statement F has a blank. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's at least read the initial few words. We might get some clues there, right? The first step, okay, the first step towards something. However, contradiction. Hence, cause-effect relationship. The continuum. One just dash about Zeno's paradoxes. For, if such is the case. For means because here. For here means because if such is the case. Right? Okay. Now, look at this. And based on, let's say, your knowledge of the context also, tell me what the answer should be. F. You have these options. You might have to take the help of other sentences here. Take that help and tell me what the answer should be. Yes. Let's see what you say. So this is your question. I think I hope you've read your options. Now I'm going to the blank. Take the help of other sentences. They will help you. 5, 4, 3. Okay. 2. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2. That's what I've got. 1 also. So basically all the options. Now see, I read 2 sentences for you, right? The first sentence and the last sentence. Okay. Plays, right? Plays, and it's a general sentence. It should be in the present simple tense, right? For if such is the case, again that makes use of again present tense, right? I told you to take the help of other options. So let's see this. Cause, present tense. It is a very tempting idea, present tense, right? So one just had to think, can this come? One just thought, can this come? Was thinking. These are all past tense. Can these come in the answer? Past tense. So let's say, now I understand. See, now you might be thinking that, we should have first arranged the parajumble, because if we had arranged it, we would have anyway read all of these sentences and then we would have understood this better. I absolutely agree with you. But let's say on reading a few sentences, you realize that you find this parajumble to be difficult, or you are short of time and you would prefer doing some other questions, but you just want to do these grammar and vocabulary questions. In that case, this is the context that you're going to have. Let's say you read the first and the last sentence, then you've read bits of these sentences. So how can you be smart about it? Once you realize that this is really about tenses, all that you have to figure out is that what is the tense of the paragraph, right? So what tense will ultimately fit in this sentence? The tense of this entire paragraph is present tense, right? So one just has to think about Zeno's paradoxes or the present day continuation of that discussion, right? We are talking in the present tense, and that's why the answer should be option 4. I hope this makes sense to everybody. And you've also understood why we've done this as our first question, because sometimes you might just want to attempt the grammar and the vocabulary questions and not all the questions. There you will have limited context, okay, and we have to function with that limited context. Okay, so assuming that it is clear to everybody, now let's come to the sequences here. So okay, Anand has given us a sequence, all right, without the help of options. That's good. Let's see if this is the correct sequence. A and G have to be the opening and the closing sentences, right? So now let's figure out one or more pairs, and then eliminate. Let's do that. Yes, take the help of these connectors and let's figure out one or two pairs. So read all these 5 sentences, relate them to the first and the last sentence, and tell me which 2 sentences in your opinion should come together are mandatory pairs. Yes, let's see. Okay, I used to think A and C are mandatory. Okay, in our representations of the world, especially in physics. So now see, then C and D. Okay, C and D are mandatory. I understand the basis on which you are saying AC is mandatory, C and D is mandatory. But never be in a hurry to make mandatory pairs. Why? Because I agree that C should come after it. I also agree on the fact that D should come after C. So yes, this is an order. This is an order. But are A and C mandatory? That you can say only once you've read all the other options and realized that okay, B and E and F, B, E, F, none of them actually fit between A and C. Because even if one of them can fit between A and C, then actually A and C is not a mandatory pair. So let's see. Let's see A, C, D, in which all options it has been mentioned as a sequence. See, this has D first and C later, so eliminated. Right. This again has D first, C later, eliminated. So this way, just by deciding on an order, I have eliminated 2 options. Right. So now let's go back. Let me see what other clues you provide me. Okay. Now coming to A, E, okay, Roosters has given a sequence A, then E. All right, the third one you are saying. A and F. Okay, I've got A and F as a pair. But A talks about the fact that mathematical infinity plays or infinities play a crucial role or whatever is written here. This seems to be grammatically incorrect. We'll see. Right. So, they play a crucial role. But if you look at F, it presents a difficulty. Doesn't it present some sort of a problem? Difficulty. We are saying that it plays a crucial role. We are trying to highlight its importance. So we are not going to talk about the difficulties it presents after that. So A and F, no. Okay, 1, 5, B, G. Okay. That's okay, Explorer. We are again, see, all of us are trying to figure this out together. It's okay. This is your first question, right? B and G. Okay. The first step towards an answer. Very good. See, that's what I was looking for. BG is such an obvious pair, isn't it? G talks about geometry, right? And there's only one other sentence that's talking about geometry. So BG is a pair. That is the first thing that you should have identified. Okay. So once I realized that, okay, BG is a pair, which options are left? Just the third one. AE, CF, DBG. AE, CF, D, B, G. And now you see why I was saying that, okay, this is an order, but these might not be mandatory pairs because they aren't. Okay, A and C, E comes between them. C and D, F comes between them. BG is a mandatory pair. So here, first thing I think that would have benefited everybody was realizing that there was only one other sentence that talked about geometry. That would have straight away narrowed down your options to just two. And then it was only a matter of reading. Okay, once you read this in this order, you would have realized this that, okay, this makes perfect sense. Right? So questions can appear to be difficult. See, this is a slightly technical paragraph that talks about mathematics, infinities, that talks about real numbers, Zeno's paradoxes. But you don't have to understand each and everything in detail here. You just have to understand how to eliminate. Right? So let's see why this is the sequence. Okay, so A, E, why E after A? Let's look at that in detail. A, E, C, F, D, B, G. Now that we've found the sequence, these are the clues that are present in this ParaJumble, right? So look here. This I think I've typed by mistake. Maybe this was some option, right? Look here. So A says that infinities, they actually are important. Mathematical infinities are important in physics. E gives an example of that. The continuum. See, what is continuum? Something that stretches to a particular limit, right? So the continuum of the real numbers. Probably I'm talking about the infinity comprising real numbers. Real numbers ka infinity. The continuum of the real numbers are as a representation of time or of one-dimensional space is surely the best known example. So I am saying maths important है physics में and see E gives an example. Real numbers जो कि maths हैं वो use होते हैं physics में as a representation of time or as a representation of space. That's the best known example. Is surely the best known example of what? Of the fact that infinities or infinity plays a crucial role. So A and then E. However, these same infinities also cause problems. Now I come to the track of problems. So what kind of problems? See, F explains that. One just has to think about Zeno's paradoxes. One just has to think about Zeno's paradoxes, or the present day continuation of that discussion, जो Zeno ने discuss करी थी बात, present day continuation of that discussion, namely the discussion about super tasks, to see the difficulties. See, even I don't know what super tasks are, right? But I understood to see the difficulties. That means I'm talking about the problems, right? So F should come here, right? So one just has to think about this to see the difficulties, to see these problems. Hence, it is a very tempting idea to investigate whether it is possible to eliminate these infinities and still be able to do physics. So this is the question here. No, whether it is, this is a question, whether it is possible to eliminate these infinities and still be able to do physics. The first step towards an answer to that question, kaun sa question? This question here. Okay, is to examine some aspect of geometry. Again, I don't know what is discrete geometry, what is classical continuous geometry. Right? So I hope this makes sense to you. Okay, what I've done is, in this paragraph, I've highlighted all the similar types of clues with similar colors. So that question, grammar-based clue. These same infinities, grammar-based clues. That discussion, kaun sa discussion? Zeno ke paradox ka. The latter geometry, which is the latter geometry? The classical continuous geometry, probably, right? So, no, the continuous geometry. That's what we are talking about. But again, these are grammar-based clues. These are your transition words, yes? And these are your theme-based clues. Continuum can be related to infinity. Example of what? Example of how important it is. Difficulties. What difficulties? We are talking about the problems, elaborating on the problems. I hope now it makes perfect sense to everybody. Right. AE also enough for marking the answer right. Bhushan is asking this. A and E. Yes, if you realize A and E, nothing like it. If you realize that A and E make sense together, nothing like it. So usually students are not able to realize this, but they're able to figure out B and G. Okay, that's why I proceeded through B and G. If you realize A and E, then you've solved the question in no time. Okay, hope this makes sense. All right. Yes, 7 p.m. Yes, we are meeting today at 7 p.m. We'll discuss some very popular questions from MAHCET past year papers, right? The idea is to include relevant question types, diverse question types for you. Okay. How much time should a parajumble question take? See, if let's say there is one set, this is a set that we are currently doing. This set has 7 questions, right? This set has 7 questions. Then you can spend about 7 to 10 minutes on this set. Okay. I would not say not more than 10 minutes, right? That will be a lot because you have other RC passages also. So basically treat it like one RC passage. If you have 7 questions, it's as good as one RC passage. So the amount of time that you would devote to one RC passage, that is the amount of time that you should devote here as well. Right? Okay. How to choose the opening and closing sentence? So explorer, see this. You can make an effort when you start reading the parajumble. Sometimes you will very easily find the opening and closing sentences. How? Because let's say they will be in the nature of definitions. Yes, they will be in the nature of introductions. They will be in the nature of general statements, universal truths. So these tend to be very classic opening sentences. Or you will get this feeling that all the other sentences are explaining one main sentence. So that main sentence has to be the introduction. Similarly, for closing sentences, it could be a summary of whatever has been discussed. It could be a conclusion. It could be a continuation. Let's say what you mentioned a problem in the previous sentence. Now you are elaborating on it, right? And the other sentences you've already arranged. So of course this continuation will come at the end. So sometimes you will spot these easily. If you spot these easily, nothing like it. If you, however, you don't, then don't be stubborn about first finding the opening or the closing sentence. Okay, because sometimes it might not be as clear cut and you might waste a lot of your crucial time. Okay, all right. Time runs super fast. So time is the same inside and outside the exam. It's just that there are a number of questions to solve. So time management is sometimes what lacks in the exams. That's why it feels like that. Okay. And of course, I told you, no, you make an informed decision. If the parajumble question appears to be extraordinarily difficult for you, then just attempt the vocabulary and grammar questions, randomly mark in the others, and proceed. I'm not saying that this one has to be attempted if such a question type, this entire set comes, right? Because let's say you find it difficult, but you still decide that I will do it. You spend 10 minutes on it, very painstakingly make an arrangement, but unfortunately, it is the wrong arrangement. Then, anyway, you are going to get all the related questions incorrect. So, your question 5 gets incorrect in that case, your question 1 gets incorrect, 2 gets incorrect, and even 3 gets incorrect, right? So, what's the point? Isn't it? Now I think we have, because we have rearranged the paragraph, we know that A, E, C, F, D, B, G is the sequence. So what is the fourth statement after rearrangement? Fourth statement after rearrangement. Yes. I think, Bhushan, you might have already had some strategy sessions about MAHCT, about how to analyze your mocks. So, in that, the aspect of time management must have been discussed. So, I am pretty sure that a session on mock analysis happened. So, go through that once, okay, and that will help. For the verbal section, I'll keep discussing it as we keep discussing various topics, right? Okay. Fourth sentence is F. Yes, everybody knows this. AECF. So F is the fourth sentence after rearrangement. Correct. Okay. Sixth sentence after rearrangement. Yes, Abhiram, initially that happens, and it's a very natural human tendency. So, when you start doing something within a time constraint and you haven't done it earlier, the time makes you nervous. You keep on glancing at the clock again and again. Because of this nervousness, sometimes you make silly errors, and you definitely will feel that you lack time, right? So, it is just a matter of practice and taking more and more mocks, basically putting yourself in that situation, in that pressure situation, and again that will make you used to that situation. After a while the timer won't scare you anymore. After a while you'll realize that you don't have to look at it all the time. Maybe in the beginning, let's say in the beginning of a question and towards the end of a question set, let's say, those are the intervals. You'll find out that comfortable interval for yourself when you have to look at the time, right? So for instance, for some of you it could be 3 minutes, after every 3 minutes. Some of you it could be after every 5 minutes. So it's through practice, through taking mocks, attempting past year papers, that you finally become used to that constraint. Never practice these questions. Let's say if you sit to solve a paper, always time yourself. Okay. B, D, okay. Mostly B's I've got. Right. I think by B you mean this. Option 1, correct. That is the sixth statement after rearrangement. Correct. Which one of the following statements remains at its initial place even after rearrangement? Okay. So here, now see, here look at the options. So what was our sequence? A, E, C. Then after C, what did we have? F, D, B and G. Right? So which one is at its original position here? Which one is at its original position here? You have to look at these middle ones. There's only one. Let's see what you say. Understand this question well. Good. Varun, Kiran, Bhushan, Rajiv, absolutely correct. Minar, Sameer, Perish, correct. C. It remains in the third position only. No, so that was the meaning. In its initial position. That is the meaning here of place. Right? So it's the third one. It remains in the third position only. That's it. So these kinds of questions can be asked as part of a set in your ParaJumble question. Okay. And in case you find it difficult, then you can just attempt the grammar and vocabulary questions. So let's have a look. Acha, the second one has also been asked. Second statement after rearrangement. Yes. E is the second statement after rearrangement. Let's proceed. So here's a grammar question based on the first sentence. It says in the first statement, okay, in the first statement, forget which statement, a part of the sentence is highlighted. Below the sentence, alternatives to the highlighted part are given as A, B, C, and D, which may help improve the sentence. So, A, B, C, D, and E. Choose the correct alternative out of the given 5 options. In case the given sentence is correct, the answer will be option E, that is no correction required. But here we have actually tweaked this question and we've eliminated this option. There is definitely an error here. Okay, E also talks about another thing. So tell me, what is the error there and give me the correct one. What should come here? In our representations of the world, especially in physics, infinities plays a crucial role. Is this correct? Infinities plays a crucial role. If not, then what should come? Let's see what you say. The original sentence says infinities, mathematical infinities, plays a crucial role. Okay. I'm just pretty sure about C. Let's see what the others say. B, all right. So again, you have to eliminate here after spotting the differences. See, D and E They can be very easily eliminated because is missing. Is missing in them, isn't it? Play crucial role, plays crucial role. We need this we need the article, right? Eliminated. Now, infinities is plural. Infinities is plural. Plays on the other hand is singular. Plays on the other hand is singular. So inconsistent. Infinity is singular. Play on the other hand is plural. Inconsistent again. So the answer is B, Bangalore. Infinities play a crucial role. Infinities play a crucial role, not plays. Does this make sense? I understand some of you marking E. Some of you marked B. I absolutely understand it. It's wrong because of the absence of a. Because a was absent. But let's make it a little trickier for ourselves. Let's say option E. So option B says infinities play a crucial role. And option E says infinity plays a crucial role. If both these options were given to you, then which one would you choose? Now it becomes a question of comprehension. Yes. If both these options were given to you, which one would you choose? Can there be multiple infinities? That's my question. Can there be multiple infinities? Sari says then E should be the answer. Krishna says still B. Okay. There can be multiple infinities. For instance, there can be an infinity of natural numbers. 1 to infinity. There can be an infinity of real numbers. There can be an infinity of integers. Right? So, infinities बहुत सारी हो सकती हैं. Okay? In that case also, B only would be our answer because infinities can very well be plural, and our sentence absolutely correct, Ashish, it refers to plural infinities, right? So still B would be the answer and not E, even when it becomes a matter of contextual understanding. Hope this makes sense to you. Anyone who has seen this movie The Fault in Our Stars or has read the novel? Any fan in the house? Not both, Prem. B, then also we would prefer B. Okay, so this is a question type that has the one that we've just done that has been asked in MAHCET CET, okay, in some years. However, as I said, last year these normal ParaJumble questions were asked. Okay, most of them were 5-sentence ParaJumbles. 5 options were extended to you, right? So it's a standalone question now. It's not a set, right? In such a case, I definitely recommend you to attempt this. Give it a sincere shot, right? Because now it's a standalone question that was a set like an RC passage. So here, tell me what should be the sequence. Take the help of options. Tell me what should be the sequence. Okay, Ashish. All right. Non-deterministic systems. So Bhujan, E sounds more correct because we tend to think if it's infinity, then it already encompasses everything. How can there be something like infinities? But there can actually be multiple infinities of different elements. It's a set ultimately, right? So that set can be of different things, right? And that's why there can be multiple infinities. Okay. Achha, the wish sailor said that he has read or she's read The Fault in Our Stars. So there is this quote in The Fault in Our Stars: some infinities are bigger than other infinities. So something to ponder over. I don't know if it's correct mathematically. I don't think it's correct mathematically, but then this is it was made in a non-mathematical sense. Anyway, we are digressing. So A, E, B, all right, all right. Let's see what the others say. A, E, B, okay. C and D, nobody is saying, okay. So make connections here, make pairs, okay. So these two appear like general sentences, whereas these two, I mean, they particularly talk about Maharashtra's heat wave, isn't it? Maharashtra's first two heat wave spells, the third heat wave. So definitely 4 should come before 5. Yes. C can be very easily eliminated. D can be very easily eliminated. Good that you did this time. Even E can be eliminated. Okay, so those who are saying E, shouldn't 4 come before 5? We are talking about the first two heat wave spells and this is the third heat wave. Based on just this itself, I have eliminated 3 options. Right, now I am just left between these two. I just have to decide, okay, which should be the opening sentence out of these two, which makes for a better flow, right? So, we are tempted to actually think of 2 as the opening sentence because it says India, right? So we think that okay, this provides us context. But if I do that, then look at this. 1 comes before 4 and 5 in B. However, if you look at 1, it talks about Maharashtra's Vidarbha. The Vidarbha region is actually a Maharashtrian region, right? So 4 and 5, I should first talk about Maharashtra and then I should talk about the Vidarbha region, right? So 4, 5 and then 1. So actually this is the sequence. 3, 2, 4, 5, 1. A is the answer. March marks the beginning of the summer season and is considered a transition phase where day temperatures gradually rise. So we are talking about the beginning of summer now. The peak month for heat waves, 2, 4, 5 forms a very strong sequence because all the 3 sentences talk about heat waves. Theme based clue, right? 2, 4 and 5 and then we'll talk about 1. So A is our sequence. Does this make sense? I understand. You must have thought that 2 should come before 3. It's an easy temptation, but think about it. 2, 4, 5 aren't they related in the issue that they're discussing? So good. Those who marked A, I think Kiran answered the fastest. She said that A should be the answer. Then Mahima, Natasha, Satish, Sameer. Very good. Very good. All of you who have marked A as the answer. All right. Chalo then, let's move to another question here. So, this is again a sequence parajumble, but again, I would say make use of options here, right? See how far they can help you. For instance, right on looking at the options, I know that 2 and 4 are not the opening sentences. They are not the opening sentences at least, right? So, let's see which out of the others can be seen as an opening sentence, make sense as the opening sentence, and that will help you to eliminate some of the options. So accordingly, proceed and tell me the answer. Yes. Option 2 was tempting indeed, Bhushan. I agree. How to deal with this temptation in the exam. So, see, there were multiple clues. Despite the fact that you could have been tempted to mark option 2, you should have realized this, no, that heat waves will be talked about together, right? And then, let's say, some students might say, हमें नहीं पता कि Vidarbha is in Maharashtra, right? But here, if you see, I first talk about the heat wave and then I come to the specific temperatures, 45 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, right? So if you see, there is a thematic relationship First in the form of this sequence, and then first talking about heat waves and then talking about specific temperatures, general to specific relationship. So you did have these clues. Okay. So tell me quickly, what should be the opening sentence here? Very easy to spot in my opinion. How can two, how can two be the opening sentence? Acha, you're giving the answer itself. All right, 52143. Okay. All right. 100% I would say it's 2. Okay. All right. 5 is the opening sentence. You're absolutely correct, right? So these three, look at it. Just by identifying the opening sentence, just by glancing at the options for a while, okay, and realizing that, okay, this and this, when I say, they probably are not the topic sentence. What is the introduction of the issue? 5 actually introduces the issue. So good, either 2 or 3. Now you just had to decide between these two. So the Supreme Court rejected. Now, see, there is another very strong pair here. A single bench of the Delhi High Court and the single bench said. So, see, article relationship, a bench, the bench. We first introduce this bench and then we say something about this bench, right? The single bench. So 1, 2, because it should be 1 and 2 and not 2, 1. Your apps, acha, you said 5 to 1, 4, 3. It's 5, 4, 1, 2, 3. 5, 4, 1, 2, 3. See this, no? Because a single bench of the Delhi High Court had on April 1 dismissed petitions against this. Agreeing with the KV stand, the single bench said. So basically it dismissed the petition and it said this. Okay, in explanation that why are we dismissing the petition of people? Because KV, they say that KV's anxiety is well understood. KVS की anxiety understood है, well understood है, उसमें कोई problem नहीं है जो वो करना चाह रहे हैं. So we are dismissing the people's petition, right? So 1 and then 2, and that's why 3 is our answer here. Just one opening sentence and one pair, one mandatory pair. That's what I focused on. Good. All of you have said 3, right? So I understand that some of you must be lost between lost in the fact that what is this. Actually, in the various courts, an appeal against a decision can be made multiple times. Okay, so that's why there have been multiple appeals, and then you can make an appeal against the decision also. So multiple appeals have been made in this paragraph, and that's why this can actually result in confusion. That's why you stick to your goal, which is forming a sequence. Don't get lost in these multiple this. Right? All right. Now, so this was about your sequence ParaJumbles. Now, some of you might not realize this, but you are actually asked odd sentence ParaJumble questions also in your MAHCET CET. Though they don't call it odd sentence ParaJumble, the question format looks something like this. Which of the following options does not match in its theme with the others? That's the way they ask this question. So actually 4 of them would form a paragraph. So that's why they will be related in theme to each other, while one would not. And that's why that will be the odd one out, right? So what are the things that can help you solve these questions faster? So in my opinion, these are definitely worth a shot. Okay, you just have to identify one odd sentence. Understand what is being talked about. What are the limits of this discussion? Is it, let's say, for instance, it could be a legal discussion, but one point here could be in the nature of a social point. So that perhaps could be unrelated. Okay, in terms of range, it is unrelated. Don't be worried about the entire sequence, right? Of course, you just have to mark the odd one. Make 1 or 2 mandatory pairs. That helps. So if you realize that, okay, just giving an example, if you realize that D and E make for a pair. In that case, you know that neither D nor E can be the answer. So make 1 or 2 mandatory pairs to eliminate. If you're able to find the opening closing sentence, nothing like it. If not, don't be stubborn about it. Lastly, identify the tone of the paragraph or ideas discussed. If you're able to do this, sometimes actually the odd sentence out is the one that does not match the tone of the paragraph. उसकी ना टोन ही अलग होगी. लेट्स से अगर पैराग्राफ सारा पॉजिटिव है, so then this one would be, let's say, relatively neutral. This one option. So through the tone you understand, okay, this is the odd one out. So keep these things in mind and you will fare well in this question type. Yes. Let's look at the question. You have to identify the odd one out, read the options carefully, eliminate, and then come to the answer. Yes. Let's see. Our second last question for the day. I want your enthusiasm, your 100% participation. Okay. You feel that C is the odd one out here. Kiran says E. Okay. Ayush is saying 100% E. Okay. All right. So C and E, that's what I've got. Let's have a look. See this. Why C? Don't you think D and C form a very strong pair? I didn't understand your marking C. E I understand, but C I don't understand. See, we are talking about sea level rise in Shanghai, right? Sea level rise की बात हो रही है. When the water does become unmanageable, there will likely be a slow abandonment, with the wealthiest leaving first. With the wealthiest leaving first. Poorer people with nowhere to go may have to adapt to semi-submerged conditions. Semi-submerged, sea level rise, wealthiest poorer, B, C and D, they are related. So I don't think any of these is the odd sentence out. It's either A or E. I understand your marking E. This was a slightly tricky question. That was my effort, right? Now, why is it that A is the answer? A is actually the answer here. That is the odd one out. And it does not look like the odd one out. I agree with you. But think about it. We're talking about sea level rise, the damage that can be caused by water to Shanghai. Whereas here, we're talking about groundwater extraction. Since 1900, Shanghai has sunk by 2.5 meters due to groundwater extraction and the weight of its buildings pressing into marshy ground. Is this about sea level rise? Is this statement about sea level rise? Okay, now some of you must be thinking that maybe this is also not about sea level rise. Actually, how it is connected is, see, over several hundred years, when let's say there is a place that is semi-submerged in water, it is semi-submerged in water. Over several hundred years, the upper levels of major buildings will decay as wind and water erode them. So over several hundred years, what is going to happen ultimately? There will be a lot of moisture in this area. So this wind carrying moisture, and of course some water might reach the upper levels also over several hundred years. It will erode them. Okay, it will make the buildings decay. So this E is still related to sea level rise, but A is not at all related to sea level rise. It's a separate problem. It's a different issue altogether. So it does not match the range of my discussion. Okay, so A is the answer. Does this make sense? Water relation is present in sea. Anand, semi-submerged, that is related to water only. Submerged is पानी में डूबा हुआ, right? Then E seems, I agree, Ayush, E looks like it's going to be the answer. But then if you see, E is still related to damage caused by the sea level, the sea water. Whereas A is talking about groundwater extraction, weight of buildings, separate issues. Okay? So this was a tricky one. Okay, let's see this. This is a simpler one. I'm sure everybody will answer this correctly. Tell me what the answer for this one should be. Yes. Which one of the following does not thematically match the others? Sorry. Yeah. No, Ayush, that relationship you are drawing, it clearly says that it has sunk 2.5 meters due to groundwater extraction. Because people are taking out the groundwater, that is why it has sunk. Okay, okay, let's see. You have every right to disagree with me. We are in a democracy. The thing is, it's very clearly written why Shanghai has sunk due to groundwater extraction. Had this not been written, I would have agreed with you that yes, probably this is because of the sea level rise, right? But if it is clearly mentioned that it is due to a separate problem altogether, how can it be related to the other sentences then? To the topic, in fact, then. Okay, so that's why A is the odd sentence out. And yes, this has been picked up from a newspaper. Okay, it's a very recent article. You can actually Google it, search it, and probably then in the larger context, it will start making more sense to you that the entire discussion that is happening is about sea level rise and its impact on the city. Okay, all right. Coming to this one, I have already got some answers. Because it says over the, see this, okay. First of all, let's complete this, right? I have already got some answers. I've already got some answers to B. Do the others also agree? Then we'll be done with this question. Easy question. Yes, we talk about jealous people and see all the other sentences are talking about jealous people only, right? It's two that is a very general sentence. Okay, in this context. So again, does not fit the range of discussion, does not in fact fit the theme also. So that's why two is the answer here. Easy question this one was. Now, coming back to this one, upper levels. Okay, so the thing is, that is why the author also has written over several hundred years. This is not going to happen overnight because initially the bottom levels will be affected, right? Initially the bottom levels will be affected, right? So over several hundred years, the upper levels of major buildings will decay because water levels might rise. Okay, and moreover, they'll be, where will they be? They'll be stuck in this condition of moisture, right? They'll be semi submerged already, so they will gradually decay, right, as wind and water erode them. So gradually the effect of wind and water will happen on them, right? It will spoil them, it will decay them. That is what is stated. Okay, so not a very straightforward one. I already told you. I think this is from an Indian Express article. You can actually read that article and probably then you will understand it better. Okay, so these were two odd sentence out questions. Now we have covered all the question types from ParaJumbles that can be asked in MA CET, the question set, the standalone sequence ParaJumble, and the odd sentence out ParaJumbles. So with this, I hope we have decoded the ParaJumbles and you are now in a position to attempt them. Okay, how much time should we take for PGs and RC? See, if there are 15 questions from RC passages, right, 15 or 15 plus, then 15 to 20 minutes for RC passages. Okay. Now, for ParaJumbles, if there are, say, 5 questions, again, I would say 5 to 7 minutes. If there are 7 questions and it's a set of ParaJumbles, then sometimes students do take 7 to 10 minutes because it's a set, it's interconnected, and sometimes you do require time to figure out the sequence, right? So these are, I think, this is the amount of time that you should take in different situations. Odd sentence ParaJumble, they tend to be easy, usually should not take more than 1 minute. The questions that I have seen so far in your past year papers, odd sentence questions, they have been easy. Okay, so 1 minute per question there. Welcome. Ayush, okay. Show the article. I don't have it right now. Okay, you can Google these sentences, right? Just Google the sentence and you'll find it easily. Okay? All right. Welcome. Welcome. See you at 7 p.m. today, right? Okay. Then here, okay, this is about a CAT 22 comprehensive program. I'm sure everybody knows about it by now. And this is the Telegram channel that you can join in case you have any queries. And yes, thank you for attending the session. See you at 7 p.m. today. Okay. Rooster is saying make harder questions. So I try to match them to the level of your exam. If the level of the exam tends to be easy, then I try to keep it easy, right? There's no point in making unnecessarily difficult questions. All right. Bye. See you.